All-American Controversy. A new show about Muslim families has a Florida family group urging advertisers to pull out. Why? Because the show is too positive. Some say this is bigotry. Others say, no way. I'm talking to both sides. TLC's All-American Muslim, a reality show sparking reality controversy. Controversy in reality, I should say. On the surface, it seems pretty tame. Watch this.
Being in Dearborn has allowed us to practice our faith without losing our sense of American patriotism.
Are you scared?
Scared about delivering. I'm scared about being a mom.
I got a lot on my mind worrying about the whole pregnancy. She's obviously going through all the physical. The mental, I feel like I'm going through a lot of it.
Seems pretty tame, right? But apparently an organization called the Florida Family Association has launched a campaign to force advertisers to pull out of the show. Their grievance, program is actually too positive. Watch this.
It's the absence of the radical side of the imam's proposition of Sharia law that is most concerning. It's the absence of the application of the Islamic code.
Now here's how Jon Stewart characterized the Florida Family Association's complaint.
The problem in the show is the absence of radicals. The problem is the televising of Muslims without the terrorist element. It seems to just show Muslims living their lives like the rest of us idiots. I'm also troubled why no one on your show, Little People, Big World, whistles while they work or makes candy for Willy Wonka.
That is very funny, but I agree with him about the fact that the absence of radicals is what they're upset about. We get plenty of radicals in the news media. We get plenty of radicals in many stories. And I think that was the point of this TLC show, which is to show that the vast, 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 vast majority of Muslims are not extremist, as the way the vast majority of any group isn't necessarily represented by its extremist sect, and that all of us in America in this melting pot just trying to get on in our life and be Americans in a democratic, pluralistic society. And in the end, Home Improvement, the giant Lowe's, did pull its advertising. So Lowe's said, I'm out. There was a public outcry, a firestorm of criticism from celebrities, and Lowe's PR at an all-time low. The real issues, many say, this is about ignorance, fear, and dare we say bigotry. With me is Arsalan Iftikhar, I hope I pronounced your name okay, international human rights lawyer and author of the book Islamic Pacifism, Global Muslims in the Post-Osama Era, and Catholic League President William Donahue, also conservative commentator, author Pamela Geller, joins us by phone. Arsalan, you wrote that taking this issue and the way the family organization has is like saying TLC's show Sister Wives is, quote, a covert campaign to promote fundamentalist Mormon polygamy across America. Could you expand on that?
Sure. I mean, I think that in the case of All-American Muslim, if we were dealing with a reality show that, followed the everyday lives of Latinos, African Americans, Jewish Americans, LGBT people, I don't think that there would be any outcry at all. And I don't think, corporations like Lowe's would show their corporate cowardice by buckling to the whims of a fringe right-wing group. People tend to forget that the cast members of All-American Muslim include a United States federal agent, a deputy chief of the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, a Muslim lady who works for the local judge in Dearborn, Michigan. When the Florida Family Association says, moronic things like, this does not show the radical side of Islam, like my friend and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Clarence Page wrote today in the Chicago Tribune, that's the moral equivalent of saying that the Cosby Show during the 1980s was not indicative of black life in America because it didn't show street gangs. And so, we're just calling on corporations to show a little bit of consistency that anything that would be deemed, anti-Semitic, homophobic, anti-Latino, anti-black would not be tolerated by anyone, rightfully so. I'd be the first one to speak out against it. But for some reason, being anti-Muslim is an accepted form of xenophobia in America today.
Arsalan, you're saying this in a very metered, reasonable way. I get angry. Shouldn't we be angry at this? That corporate America can't do what's right. They're so fearful of losing a couple bucks that they have to shrink behind fear. I want to ask Pamela Geller if my opinion is reasonable.
Well, your opinion is based on a false premise. The fact is the show specifically situates itself as a response to Islamophobia. This is clear from the opening moments of the show, but it is severely misleading because it doesn't deal with the kind of Muslims who would have caused anyone concern in the first place.
Hold on a second. Pamela, let me just interrupt. No, because I have to say this, which is Islamophobia is being addressed. Phobia against Islamic extremism is not being addressed.
If they had simply left out, Dr. Drew, Islamophobia and shown people from a Muslim background living their lives, it probably would have been an enjoyable show without incident, instead of pretending to deal with larger political and societal issues. Concern about jihad is not a phobia, it's common sense. There have been 18,000 Islamic attacks since 9/11. People should be concerned with it. As far as public outcry, the public outcry is from the left and from the media. And I have never seen this kind of a visceral reaction. The calls for boycotting of Beth by Media Matters, the calls for the boycotting of Israel, of Rush Limbaugh. Nobody says anything. People are free to speak. People are free to express. As far as Lowe's is in business. And Lowe's is in business to do business. And maybe perhaps the poor showing of the ratings, where the second show was half of the first show, maybe that had also...
Sure, that would be... I wish they'd say that. That would be reasonable.
The last thing I'd like to say, is no business wants to inject themselves into a political controversy. That is, a suicide for a business. So of course they're going to withdraw. Why would anybody inject themselves if you want to do business into so controversial?
But the question I'm really asking is, should it be controversial? William Donahue, Catholic League president, where do you ring in on this?
Look, the show is not a documentary. It's not meant for classroom use. It's 5 families from Dearborn, Michigan. It's not a show promoting Islamists. There's a difference between Islamists and those who practice Islam. There's a difference between American Muslims and Muslims in the Middle East. And what I find offensive is that the Florida Family Association is saying that virtually all Muslims ascribe to Sharia law. All right, the figure is 99.9%. That's the exact figure they threw out there. Now, look, I condemn Sharia law as totalitarian. I condemn Muslim extremists against Israel and people who loathe the United States. But people gotta step back here and look at what's going on. It's just a show about American Muslims who want to blend in like everybody else. And if we don't make critical distinctions, it's going to come back to haunt us.
Well, I think that's the point I'm trying to make, too. Now, Florida Family Association leader David Canton, or maybe Caton, I think is actually his name, said this about Islam.
I beg you to find an imam or imams in this country, anywhere in the mosque, the leadership, that would come back and say that they do not believe in Sharia. This show is totally absent the true essence of Islam, which is the focus of a Muslim believer.
Now, Arsalan, everyone's getting so confused and kind of hysterical here, aren't they? I mean, Sharia is just law. I think, again, Sharia extremist, jihadist is what people are concerned about. So to say that, Arsalan, I need to address you. Put him, there we are, thank you. Now, to say that Muslims believe in Sharia is true, but to say that they believe in extremist positions of Sharia is what's at issue here, is it not?
You know, what I find interesting as a lawyer is that, all these people who talk about the Sharia creep, the Muslim boogeyman trying to take over America, obviously has not read the Constitution, where the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution unequivocally states that no law shall trump the Constitution of the United States. So anybody who talks about the Sharia creep of Islamic law coming to American shores should fail in 9th grade civics class. This is just a proxy, it's a red herring to promote bigotry against Muslims and Islam. And again, one of the guys on the show is a U.S. federal agent, and one is a deputy chief of the Wayne County Sheriff's Department.
Listen, a friend of mine is a Marine. That's my point. Right. It's like, I know tons of Muslims that have nothing to do with this, and I'm sad that we have to be so bigoted about the entirety of the Muslim faith,
exactly,
as opposed to the extremists, which I am afraid of. I am afraid of the extremists.
Well, and I'm afraid of them too, Dr. Drew. That's the thing. It tends to paint Muslims and Islam with a monolithic brush. I went to a top 20 law school. I've worked for 2 United States senators. I've graduated from the FBI Citizens Academy. 7 million American Muslims, including the greatest athlete ever, Muhammad Ali, and the funniest dude in America, Dave Chappelle, are both Muslims. Now, to say that, just because you don't highlight the fringe activities of a criminal murderous element, again, is saying that any show about African Americans is not representative because they don't deal with this.
I have to take a break, but I would love to see the Muslim community talking about dealing with the extremist sect in a systematic way or something. Maybe that would respond to this. I'm sad that corporate America. I'm sad that corporate America is contributing to some of this paranoia. That really makes me sad, and that business interests would win out. And Pamela, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I understand your point of view, but it makes me sad. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Arsalan. Thank you, Mr. Donahue.